government built Interstate 75 through Gordon County. On this end of the county, it cut through the heart of the Resaca battlefield. And one of those folks that worked for the Georgia Department of Transportation was an amateur metal detector, a relic hunter. So he goes up on off of Highway 136 there at the southbound exit route and was looking at some old entrenchments they were fixing to destroy. Well, he gets a signal and digs, and what do you think he found? It was George. George's skeletal remains had been discovered 96 years after the Battle of Resaca in 1960. He had had a leg amputated, and some of his personal effects were still in the grave. So after a brief tug and pull contest between the sheriff and the coroner to see whose jurisdiction it was, the gentleman that found him, Mr. Ernest Rutledge, said, well, I found him, I'm going to get him buried. So he took him. Well, it ended up on top of a locker at the National Guard Armory here for a long time. They couldn't get permission to bury it in the Confederate cemetery here. So then the National Guard said, Mr. Rutledge, will you come and get this? We don't know what, we can't get it buried up there. So Ernest took it home, put it under his bed. Thought, well, it'll be out of the way right here until we find somewhere where we can get permission to get him buried. Well, Ernest's wife Sue had no idea about this, so one day when she was cleaning up, she pulled a box out from under the bed. To her amazement, there was George. So, short story, Ernest was made to take the skeleton out of the house, so he rode around with it in the car. And then in 1962, just a conversation with the then county road commissioner, they said, well, the state's not going to let us do it, we're just going to bury him. So they came up early on a Saturday morning in 1962 in January, took a backhoe across the wall and dug a hole and buried George. The National Guard and the American Legion fired an honor volley, and they figured, well, what the state don't know is not going to hurt him. So George is up on the north end of the cemetery. So we want to try to get something put there later. But now, how does George fit in with anything now? Well, now the town of Resaca has acquired this huge collection, opening up the first museum of its type in the county. So if you go there after Friday, you can look at accoutrements, artillery projectiles, cannonballs, parrot shells, bayonets, Confederate belt buckles, Federal buckles, breastplates, box plates. And if you really want to take some time, 7,500 mini balls, buttons, camp items, cavalry items, firearms, kepi insignias, plates, personal items, swords. There's a little bit of everything in that collection that was dug around the hills of Resaca. And at a special place on the right side of the cabinet, we have a little special area for George. Now, what we do have is the photos of George when they uncovered him, and we have the newspaper articles, and most importantly, we have the pipe that was found with George, with beautiful engraved brass band inside the bow. We've got his glass shirt buttons and underwear buttons. We've got a musket toppling. That's a little device that keeps the rain out of the barrel or the powder dry if it's loaded. And also found a turnbuckle tourniquet since George's left leg was amputated. So evidently he had died there and got pushed over in the entrenchments. So we have all those artifacts, and you can come down, get close and personal with them, and there's a lot of stuff that you get to thinking about it, like just like George. It's really something neat that we have, and that story that we have, because you know he could have just been another lost casualty here at Resaca. So take the time. How many of you are from Gordon County? And those out of the county, come and see that collection. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything. And the town is just tickled to death to do it, and they're going to plan to continue building on that community history stuff. So it's a great thing. And that's all I have. And we're going to turn it over to the United Daughters of the Confederacy and Gordon County Historical Society. If they will, please lay the wreath. Now the honor volleys will be fired by the Georgia Division Infantry, and we appreciate these gentlemen marching over, and hopefully you'll come over and see them in a few hours. And so we'll turn it over to them, and as soon as they get through firing, we'll be dismissed. Thank y'all for coming.
Shoulder, arm. Order, arm. Load. At extreme elevation. Ready. Aim. Fire. Cover. Arm. Load. Ready. Aim. Fire. Cover. Arm. Load. Ready. Aim. Fire. Cover. Hawk. 3 set. Hawk. Shoulder, hawk. Order, hawk. In place,